profession of the customer, who is the athlete at that time. When I left that organization, I was surrounded by Michael Jordan's buildings and everybody, Alberto Salazar. I was like, this place is amazing. Because now I remember when they tried to convince me, they were in Kyalami in a factory, something funny. I was saying to myself, there's no hell I'm going to take off my suits and come wear sneakers and khakis, whatever it is, and track suits, and work in the backyard in Kyalami. I'm sorry. And that's where it was. But anyway, when I came back, they said to me, what do you think? I was like, this is a great company. But it was also a great company because when I joined, not only was I wet behind my ears, but the company was also very green. Because at that stage, there was only worth, 20-25 million rand company then, which is like what? Just about at that stage. They were working in Kyalami. They didn't have many athletes. It was starting out. So it was a blank canvas. Hold that thought for 1 minute. A year or two earlier, I went to see a headhunter. And the headhunter did a psychometric on me. And he said to me, when you are unemployable? I was like, yo. Now I'm thinking at that stage, what does it mean I'm unemployable? He says, you're very entrepreneurial. You ought to be in a place where you can create, where you can make decisions, where you can shape and do things. He says, that's where you... So he was trying to get me into work for Southern Sun then. And he says, I won't take you there because... He says, matter of fact, you should work for anybody, go find you, go create your own thing. I'm thinking, how can he say that? I've only been working for 2 years. And then I got the job at Nike, so go back to Nike. When I joined Nike, I realized it was a blank canvas for South Africa and the continent. Reebok and Adidas were the top brands then. And so I found a company that's values driven, performance driven, focusing on the customers, and relentlessly innovating, coming up. So it's a perfect place for an entrepreneurial thinker, and that's also trying to connect us to. And an entrepreneurial person who there's not too many rules. We are writing the rules. There's not too many, no much precedent. We're creating the precedents. Nike in America was busy with Michael Jordan, and Tiger Woods was coming up. We here was like, no, rugby. We should be doing Kaizer Chiefs. I'm still a Kaizer Chiefs fan. I know times are tough, but this too shall pass. Kaizer Chiefs, we should be doing run. I said, that's who we are. I'd learned something in my times at Nike International because I have been to so many meetings. And one guy said, we need to find the passions that connect our customers to their favorite sports and athletes. So if you can find that magic, then our brand connects with them at that point. And that's all that I did for that time with my team, whether it's Nunu Njingila, Skwili Gumede, and all those who were part of my team, that we created some serious magic. We brought music into how you build the brands. We connected with cutting edge ideas. So that's what Nike did. So Nike did a couple of things as well. One, it also strengthened my character, if you will, because now I'm joining an organization. It's at the early stages of post-apartheid South Africa. They've never seen black people in high positions, definitely not in marketing. Marketing director was black. At that stage, it was not known. It's not. These days, we've got some great ones like Kensani, Sydney Mbele from Kensani from Nedbank, Sydney Mbele from Absa. You got people, Andy South from Vodacom. So we got some great ones these days. And so that time, we were not only working, but without thinking about it and without paying too much attention on it, we're actually writing the script for the next generation.
I love how you acknowledge the fact that part of the experience you had in corporate, especially in the early years, also came as a result of a push that we needed black people in certain positions, and you were one of those people that you felt you actually actively benefited from that, but it didn't mean that you didn't then have to rise up to whatever the position expected.
Oh no, we had to work hard.
Yeah.
We were to work hard. We didn't work hard to prove anybody right. We worked hard to prove ourselves capable, to show that we are good. not as good, we're just good. And I never ever looked at myself through a black lens. I always looked at myself through an excellent lens, an excellence lens. And that's why, you can look through that history. You'd never have heard of me being activist somewhere. You've never heard of me starting up something. Black people must do this, black people must do this. I said, no. Black people must just show up and do the right thing. And then that speaks louder than the words and throwing stones and putting up things in this new era.
We're in conversation with Thebe Ikalafeng. We're going to continue with it in a moment. And when we come back, Thebe, I want you to speak about how your time in corporate prepared you for your own branding and marketing agency. Because I think, I'm part of a generation of millennials, and a 9-to-5 job is getting a very bad rep right now, because people feel it's just not delivering what they thought it would. And there's this restlessness to let's explore more, let's do other things.
And there's also a bit of an entitlement, isn't it? We'll talk about that.
Kelly, you also have a lot to say about it. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Thank you, Cathy. In the news headlines, I am Onde Lambana, and a very good morning. Former State Security Minister Bongani Bongo, former head of the Mpumalanga Human Settlements Department, David Dube, and 16 others have been acquitted of corruption charges. Action SA President Herman Mashaba has lambasted President Cyril Ramaphosa for relaxing visa requirements for Nigerian citizens, and the head of South Korea's governing party, Han Dong-han, has urged the swift removal from power of President Yoon Suk-yeol, whose declaration of martial law earlier this week has caused outrage. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand currently trading at 18 rand 03 to the dollar, 22 rand 97 to the pound, and 19 rand 06 to the euro. Markets in Asia were mixed at the closing bell, the JC higher in mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe flat this hour. Gold is trading at $2,636, platinum $937 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $71.87 a barrel.
At Buco, we know that every successful building project starts with quality and ends with pride. From small contractors to big builders, we're here to ensure that you have the tools, materials, and support to do the job right the first time. With Buco, you're never building alone. We are right here, ready to make your project a lasting success, from the foundation to paint. For every step and every build, begin with Buco.
Buco. Mamelodi Sundowns ladies take on University of the Western Cape in the final match of the Hollywood Bet Super League on Sunday the 8th of December 2024 at 3 p.m. at the Lucas Moripe Stadium. Come early, dress to support the top women's teams and the crowning of champions. You stand a chance to win prizes. Gates open at 12 p.m. and tickets are free. If you can't make it to the Lucas Moripe Stadium, catch the game live on SABC1 at 3 p.m. Also available on SABC Plus. For more details, visit safa.net and at Hollywood Bets SL on X.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
You're listening to The Talking Point. Our guest for today is Thebe Ikalafeng. We're reflecting on his journeys as the traveler, which is the title of his book that was launched recently out in Rosebank. And we're talking about also just the career that has been able to build for himself and why he believes in connecting Africa. Of course, there's a lot that we can explore with him, including what he thinks of the current tensions in the country, because ultimately it is about the economy. It is about goods that are making their way across borders and what that means and how that translates itself into our communities. Thebe, before we get to that part of the conversation, the sense that I got from the book is that there's a lot that one can gain out of being in a position within a corporate like you were and learning very useful skills that can help in the next chapter of one's life. And I just thought, your branding and marketing agency today, I asked myself the question, would it be what it was if you didn't have the experiences at Nike, because those opened a world of possibilities for you, not only around traveling, but around fine-tuning your craft. And you also got to meet these very talented people, the who's who. One gets the sense that your life behind the scenes is glitz and glamour. Absolutely. There's no way, and don't deny, your day at the office is mingling with the Springboks and doing shoots with them and, telling them, no, don't pose like this, pose like that.
Wow. Posing Springboks. No, but I think one of the things that one has learned, I was very lucky. I had a great mentor in New York, Philip Berry, and Philip was amazing. And Philip, when I joined Colgate in New York first time, he'd sit with me. He says, "Tebe, you're going to come in here at this place. You're going to be one of the few black people on 300 Park Avenue, which is the main street of corporate America, and they're going to judge you when you walk in here. There's two things we need to do. One, first, we dealt with how I appear. I was already dressing very well. And he just added one or two things. He's like, let's do custom-made shirts and suits. Says when you come, he says, because that's how the very successful black guys in this corporate, in New York, in this office, how they look, so that we don't judge them on the clothes. So that when you walk in, we take that out of the formula. Because now remember, even if you're smart, if you dress like a slob, people see slob. They also think your thinking and your work is sloppy. So that's the first thing that we do. Then the second thing he says, and we must work. He says the second thing, once you got over how they see you, now it's going to be how you think. He says we must work for HRS, doing all the time. You must add value, create value, not justify, but validate. But people shouldn't question why you're here. Because they'll do that if you're not working, you're not delivering. So that's the first part. So I come to South Africa, and when the guy said to me, I'm unemployable after working for 2 years or so, I'm thinking, he says to me, I must go start my own agency, or my own, whatever it is, anything. I was like, what am I going to sell? I have no skills. I've just started working a couple of years ago, so I'm still learning the culture of work, the culture of creativity, or the culture of producing something. I'm still learning how to do stuff, to deliver. So then, of course, I didn't listen to him because I knew I needed to do that. And I said to him, but I don't know much. Then I spent time in corporate, and that at least gave me an understanding how a brand, let's say Nike in this instance, how a brand, at least how they go about to create value for their customers. So because what is a brand at the end of the day? It's just a promise made and a promise delivered. So I had to learn how to create promises and how to deliver on those promises. But also had to see the whole 360 of it, not just from creating, but also not just adding value in multiple levels, adding value to the customer, adding value to the shareholders, adding value to the communities from which you come from. And those skills, when I left corporate, I then said, I'm now going to do my own thing because I now know something. The problem that we have right now is people join the company, 6 months, they already see themselves as geniuses. I said, but if you're a genius, then you should have gone off and started your own thing. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Zuckerberg started Facebook without ever having worked. So I'm not saying Gates started Microsoft. So there are people who've started businesses without having done anything else. But then they didn't go waste their time at somebody's organization. So because a lot of times when people come and work for you or they work for organizations, they feel like they are doing you a favor. I always say to people, when you join us, when you join an organization, you're not doing us a favor. You ought to do yourself a favor because it is your legacy, it is your reputation, it is your skills that you are building in this organization anywhere else. When people ask me, do you know Tebe, do you know Cathy? I'm going to reference what impact you had in our business, in our place. Not the fact that you were breathing and you dropped off here every day and you had tea from 8:30 to 9:30 and asked people how they're doing for the next 30 minutes and then open your computer slowly and at 4 o'clock you start acting like government people, slowly making your way out to wait for month end to pick up your not earned salary. So people needs to roll up their sleeves. That's what we all did. And right now, people don't want to do that. I have no problems, by the way, if you feel that you can do better elsewhere. Just don't waste other people's times in doing that.
What do you say? And I'm taking liberties here because of the kind of person that you are and the mark that you've made, particularly in the industry that you have served, but that has been felt, right? The impact reverberates in this country, reverberates into the rest of the continent. So for people that come to you asking for advice and, I've been in this job for however many years and they just don't get it, Tebe. They don't get who I am. They don't understand, and I'm leaving and I'm going to do my own thing. Having had the experience that you have, and with the privilege of looking back and successfully building your own brand agency, what is it that you would say to people who are in that position and thinking, well, I want to leave this, this company, they're not taking me seriously.
First, there's something
I'm just a digital manager, or I'm just a whatever manager, and I can do better for myself out there.
I agree with the last part. You can always do better for yourself, here or elsewhere. But to do that, you have to be at the right place. So the biggest mistake that most of us are doing is we are looking for a job. We are not looking for a place to add value. We are not looking for a place that will use the best of me. We are looking for a place that will pay my bills and my bond and my car note and my entertainment money. That's not what a job is supposed to be. A job is supposed to be an organization, wherever it is, whether it's radio, whether it's FMCG, whatever it is. The point of a job is for you to be able to go add value, for you to be able to show what stuff you are made of. But in order to do that, you have to do one important test. You must know yourself. So I told you the example of I arrived at Nike, which is a canvas, and I'm an entrepreneurial thinking person. I had to go to an organization in an entrepreneurial phase. It's no longer the same, because by the 6th year, I felt like Nike was not just like everybody else, I need to go out of here. So, as Maya Angelou says, I know why the caged bird sings. It sings because it wants to be out there and fly. So you need to know what gives you wings. And what gives you wings is a place which takes the best out of you, which creates an environment for you to be able to show what you're made of. As soon as you hit that point that you feel like you are now being caged, we need to open up the cage and you need to leave. Instead of dragging your feet and becoming what we say in Afrikaans, handdruk. Just like dragging your feet and complaining about the company, the people, the environment, and all those things. Clearly, you are in the wrong place. You shouldn't be wasting your time, because that takes away from you instead of unleashing you.
You're speaking like you're in one of your creative sessions, Tebo. Your ideation sessions, a couple of one-liners. So what should the tagline be? What should give me inspiration?
I'm a Cancerian. I speak with my hands and I speak with my. No.
So, Tebe, the idea of an a brand-led African revolution finds us at a time, and you positioned this so well because of how you came up. It was also at a time where we had former President Thabo Mbeki and his push for the African Renaissance, etc. So all of that within the context of where you were at the time, it sort of all came together very nicely. 2024, just on the open line. There are tensions everywhere in this country around people that are not South African and what South Africa's role for the rest of the continent should be. So, how do you then bring to life a reality that you dream of when we can't even fathom the idea in our communities today of shops that are run by non-nationals? We want to shut those down. We want them to pack up and leave and go. with immediate effect. We want South African jobs for South Africans. We want all jobs in South Africa for South Africans. Everybody else must pack up and go. That's part of the sentiment and how it's expressed.
So one of the greatest tragedies of this country is the fact that former President Thabo Mbeki was not able to see through his African Renaissance. Whether it's political reasons that he didn't see his tenure through, but even beyond that perhaps even beyond his presidency, we hadn't created an institutionalized, if you will, the idea of building the African Renaissance. Because he actually had a great idea in that. Because other than him, we haven't had great ideas in this continent since 1963. All they've been doing is running to Ethiopia every year on February and running to UNGA every year to September with their hands open to go back for more loans. And that's why we're in $850 billion debt and paying up to 65% of our GDP in servicing the interest. That's why we have the problems that we have. That we haven't had, if you will, visionary leaders who are focusing on how they can bend the arc of history of Africa to create a prosperous continent. They are focused. They are, if you will, there's a narrow focus, not just narrow focus generally on the country, but generally narrow focus on themselves in terms of how can I survive my party members or survive my presidency, rather than say, how do I leave this country or this continent a little better than I found it? So that's one of the greatest tragedies. Of course, and I mean, I write in the book that the 63, on 24 May 1963, when Kwame Nkrumah and the 32 presidents got together, they had a master plan, a blueprint for how we're going to move this continent forward. And some of the things that they talked about there was about open borders, was about a common currency, a common defense system. Let's just work on those three for 1 minute. Every time I land in Somalia, Uganda, Central African Republic, as the plane goes down, what do you see? United Nations aeroplanes and cars and all those to come and try and defend and protect Africans, instead of seeing an Africa-wide system that protects its own citizens, because we're still depending on the man to look after us. Let's talk about common. So that's one. Let's talk about open borders. So same in 1963, one of the ideas about an open borders. Only in 2018 in Rwanda did Africans resolve to finally have the Africa Free Trade Continental Trade area, so that goods can move easily between the countries. And let me I'll talk about that in a minute. Now, the problem with what we call now the Agenda 2063, which is what was agreed.
The African Union. The
African Union, which was agreed in 2013. It's like kicking the can into the future, because all them niggas will be dead by the time we arrive in 2063. Nobody is going to be held accountable for the goals that have set up, because these same goals are the same goals that were set up in 1963. So now they arrive in 2013 in Ethiopia, where I was, and they kick this can so far into the future, knowing very well that they'll be returned back to ash into ash and dust into dust, and none of them can be held accountable. So that's the one problem. So now let's talk about the challenge that you're talking about. As a result of the inability, or our inability to have finished the African Renaissance journey, to have conscientized Africans to understand that for Africa to succeed, we must work together. As a result of that, you now have the challenges that we have in the country, whether it's a xenophobia. And by the way, we didn't come up with xenophobia. Even the Nigerians kicked out the Ghanaians in 1982. And they say, you go back to your country, Ghana, and take this bag with you, that Mashangan bag we talk about. And so take your bag with you and go build your own country there. So this idea has always been there, because we have failed as a continent, even as countries, to try and have everybody understand that for Africa to proceed, to prosper, we have to work together. Let me give you two more thoughts around that. Intra-Africa trade is 15%. In other words, Africans doing business with each other is only 15%. If you go to intra-Europe trade, it's almost 70%. So in other words, Europe trades with Europe, America trades with America, China trades with China, mostly. We, unfortunately, the majority of what we do every day is to make money here and send it out. Ali Mazrui put it beautifully. Africa produces what it doesn't consume and consumes what it doesn't produce. That is our biggest problem. Do we have problems with Somalians? Do we have problems with Nigerians? Do we have problems with Mozambicans and all those things? No, we don't have problems with those people. What we have problems with the inability of the South African government to hold people accountable from a legal perspective. We have laws that govern people moving in and out of countries. We have laws which govern people setting up businesses. We have laws which govern people committing crime. What we don't have in this country is an ability to hold everybody accountable. People in our countries are not the problem. The problem is the people who are supposed to ensure that everybody obeys the laws of the country. Every country I go to, I have to obey the laws of that country in this continent. And there's many people from outside of the countries in those countries. But here, umthetho awukho.
So when we bring it home to what it means for local produce and local products that somebody like you can ultimately take to the rest of the world, what does it say about the state of affairs there? You were talking about Africa's best brands earlier.
Well, in 1933, the Congress of the United States of America gathered in Washington, D.C., and they proposed and enacted the Buy America Act. That act said a minimum of 50% of everything that the government of America, the state-owned enterprise of America procures must be made in America by American hands with American inputs. 2022, Biden came in and increased that to 65%. As a result, the government and state-owned entities of America only import for like 4% or something crazy like that. We here are open and for everybody else. We send everything out as raw materials. It comes back 10 times as finished goods, and it comes back and we don't have money to buy it, so we go borrow money and we spend our lifetime paying debts. There are good examples of South Africa and African countries doing well. And what we've learned in the Brand Africa study, which I've done since 2015, we've learned a few things and we've discovered a few things. Let's talk about the brands that don't come to the top. Let's look at a brand like Makos. Just opened in New York, opened in the capitals in Cape Town, Johannesburg, and Durban. Made in Africa, proudly African. Tsepo jeans. And listen to the names: Maxhosa, Tsepo, Batu. So those are African names and brands, which show that, and you saw Batu just opened in Namibia, which shows that as African brands, as Africans, we can create brands that reflect who we are, our history, our culture, our creativity, and those brands can travel. And that's what we ought to do, to inspire and empower those to be able to do well. You get a young man like Bulelani Balabala, who started the Township Entrepreneur Alliance. The man struggles to get money to organize, if you will, some of his initiatives to empower township entrepreneurs. Lucky for him, a couple of brands like Nedbank and so at least have invested in the idea. But we are the very people. When a brand like Mining Indaba, which costs millions of dollars, or the World Economic Forums, where we always run to every year, costs millions of dollars, when they call, we run, we find the money. Instead of saying, let's invest, let's find and invest the money in these local enterprises. Because guess what happens when we build local brands? When we build local brands, a couple of things happen. One, we're industrializing, we're creating factories. Second, those factories create jobs. Those jobs create a tax base. That tax base enables us to be able to fund our own development agenda. It's better than saying you're going to create 100 industrialists in 3 years, which is the most unfounded and silliest thing I've ever heard, which we in this country, we declared 10 years ago, and God forbid, we're not even close to one. Because to build an to industrialize and to build industrialists, you have to invest in ideas. You have to invest in people. And that's what we ought to do. So we are capable as a country, as a continent, to create made in Africa brands, which will enable us to drive our own prosperity agenda and to tell a good story of the continent. We need to do what I try to say next year onwards. I'm only focusing on one thing. Buy Africa Act. These governments must enact it. That's the only thing I'm going to focus my energy on.
So, Tebe, I'm now a young entrepreneur who has produced this product, and I'm listening to this show. I'm listening to everything that you're saying, and I'm thinking, I've produced some things here, but nobody seems to be quite supporting me. What do I do? Advice.
And you are so right.
How do you make people fall
when
in
they
love?
go to many of these funding institutions that we've organized in this country, poor entrepreneurs I just want 100,000, I just want 1 million. They can never find the money.
Yes.
But when some thief from India or somewhere comes to the country and rapes the country for billions, they can find the money to fund their thievery. That's the problem that we have. This entrepreneur, what they need to do, they need to learn from the Batus, from the Maklosas, from the Drups, and from the Maklosas and the Tepojins. That says, sidestep these people and start small. Because you don't have to, because the most important thing is to start. A lot of people focus too much energies on the concept, the idea. Just start something. Start. Even if you sell 2 shoes, Nike sold shoes out of the boot of the car. Batu sold shoes out of the boot of a car. Drip sold shoes out of a Batu. I was telling my Xhosa now, I said, do you remember the first time I met you? It's when you started. I went to meet you in a holiday must have been a 1-star hotel in boxes you're selling, taking out the Xhosas. Today you're a world-class brand. I'm saying to the young person, do not look to a government. Do not look to anybody else to help you take your idea forward if they are not willing to do that. Ask your friend, ask your family. Most importantly, ask yourself, what can I do? And because the problem that we have in South Africa as well is a country that's got 45% people on SASSA, more than half the youth unemployed, only 7% responsible for 93% of the taxes.
Yeah.
The problem that we have is we've created a nanny state. We have created a dependency. We have crippled South Africans by making them feel that they can't do things on their own. We are capable and can do things on our own. And that's how we're going to build a great country. And the government's role is quite simple. Create an enabling environment. You go to Rwanda, it takes 3 days to get a business license. Try that trick at home.
Why should we believe in a connected Africa? Why should we believe in connecting Africa?
We have to believe in a connected Africa, as I said earlier, because if we don't connect the continent and make sure that the flow of goods in between the continent are made in Africa, we are going to be continually enslaved and paying endless debt, and we're never ever going to be truly independent, nor prosperous, nor united, which is the vision of 2063. We are constantly going to have our hands open and ask the rest of the world, help us. The way to move forward is to help ourselves. And to help ourselves is to understand that every different African country contributes something to the product called Africa. And people are not here in South Africa because they want to take from us. They're here in South Africa to contribute as well to the prosperity of South Africa and ultimately the prosperity of Africa.
Tebe Ikalafe, it's been a mouthful. It's been such a pleasure having you in studio. Earlier we were laughing about the fact that his book is more like a series of memories that he's had on his chest, and he finally had a chance to let it all out. Feels a little bit like that with this interview as well, right? He's got a lot on his chest, and he's just like, Cathy, I thought no one would ever ask.
Not really. Cathy, I've told you. First, you have to correct. This is not just the book, The Traveler. This is the best-selling book in the country.
There we go.
This is the
There
number
we
one
go.
book in the country. But most importantly, is a lived experience of
Yeah.
an African. I'm not telling the story about where I've been and how I've been from elsewhere. I'm telling it from having been in the places. But most importantly, I'm exactly like every other kid. I grew up in a township, grew up in a 3-room house, not 3-bedroom house. I walk to school every day. It's a relatable story of who we are and what we are capable of as a people. I don't have a lot on my chest because I'm constantly talking, I'm speaking, I'm writing and doing all those. This book was just a consolidation of the thoughts of a traveler.
Bye, Tebe. Thank you so much for coming to studio.
After registering wins in their Group C opening matches, the Buccaneers and the Red Devils now meet each other. The South tackles the North. This is the Total Energies CAF Champions League. Witness the incredible flavor of African football. Orlando Pirates versus Al Ahly this Saturday, 7th December at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC3 and SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Also available everywhere for everyone. Always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Rockets and Usutu are both looking for 3 points to relocate from the bottom half. This is the Betway Premiership. Catch the unmatched passion and drama of Ibolana Simzansi. TS Galaxy FC versus Amazulu FC. This Saturday, 7th December, live on SABC 1 at 3 p.m. and SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Also available everywhere for everyone. Always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The SAFM Playwriting Competition is back. After receiving hundreds of entries last year from South African writers of different ages and ethnic groups sharing their stories, now the time is yours. It's your story. You decide. SAFM invites all writers to explore the medium of sound, the theater of the mind, and to create a 1-hour radio play in English. Get writing now and submit your play before the 3rd of February 2025 for a chance to win one of 3 large cash prizes. For more information, visit safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
In the top stories, Bongani Bongo and others acquitted of corruption charges, and SAPS determined to crack down on illegal miners. For SAFM News, I am Ondelambana, and a very good morning. Former State Security Minister Bongani Bongo, former head of the Mpumalanga Human Settlements Department, David Dube, and 16 others are free men. This after the Middelburg Specialized Commercial Crimes Court acquitted them of corruption charges on Wednesday. Dube and Bongo were implicated in fraud and corruption related to 74 million rand in land deals. They allegedly inflated the cost of 2 farms they bought in Navubord in Emalahleni and Reitsbraid in Ermelo for the Provincial Human Settlements Department in 2021. Dube says the charges were politically motivated.
This matter has destroyed my family. It has affected my kids adversely, and it even affected my kids in their academic field. It literally destroyed my family. As for my political life, it's gone. This case took it away. I was contesting to become a chairperson of the province at some stage, but because people realized that I had good chances, they used the case against me. And then they said, no, you must step down because there's this case against you. And then when they knew that my chances of becoming the chairperson of the province were very, very high.
National Police Commissioner Fanny Masamula says they are determined to continue their crackdown on illegal mining. Earlier reports said 50,000 illegal miners had been arrested in different provinces since the establishment of Operation Valum Godi a year ago. But Masamula says more than 15,000 illegal miners were arrested. He led a delegation to the South Shaft in Sabi, Mpumalanga yesterday. Various police units and private security company personnel are bringing to the surface illegal miners, believed to be over 100 from underground. Masamula says officers' operation led to the discovery of the shaft.
On the 28th of November, members of Ladenburg K9 were busy conducting an operation in Savi, Pilgrim's Rest to be specific, when they received information about a shooting in this area in the bush. The members did respond, and then a few meters away from the shaft, shots were fired from this place where we are. And the members did respond, but they picked up about 11 suspects who were armed with rifles. A member from K9 was shot and injured, and he was taken to hospital. In that process of shooting, 3 suspects were fatally wounded.
Action SA President Herman Mashaba has lambasted President Cyril Ramaphosa for relaxing visa requirements for Nigerian citizens. Earlier this week, the president announced that Nigerian business would be granted a 5-year multiple entry visa to simplify trade between the two countries. The presidency says this is part of ongoing visa reforms aimed at attracting investors to the country. Mashaba says this is incomprehensive considering what South Africa is currently going through.
Right now, South Africa, we're in the midst of a crisis where we're losing the children left, right, and center, where we have one of the most porous borders in the world. For the president to take a decision at the time when South Africans are actually crying for his intervention to protect us. And our concern as South Africans is now who's next?
Lobby group Disabled People South Africa has called on government and the private sector to do more to ensure that people with disabilities are included in the labour market. The organisation has expressed its disappointment over the low representation of people with disabilities in the Limpopo Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure Department's latest recruitment drive. Out of 174 new recruits, only 3 are persons with disabilities, sparking concerns about the fairness and inclusivity of the hiring process. DPSA's National Chairperson Patrick Mohlahlana.
They need to acknowledge that disabled people are there, and they should start by working with persons with disabilities or DPOs, organizations of persons with disabilities, to ensure that when they advertise, disabled people have access to information. So this could be a measure that we can use to close the gap, because yes, you might advertise, but it's not everybody who will be able to see or who will be able to hear, but through working with these organizations, we'll be able to assist government to ensure that there's inclusivity.
The head of South Korea's governing party, Han Dong-han, has urged the swift removal from power of President Yoon Suk-yeol, whose declaration of martial law earlier this week has caused outrage. Martial law refers to military authorities' temporary governance during emergencies. This is when civilian authorities are deemed unable to run the country effectively. The governing party had earlier said it would not seek the president's impeachment, but Han Dong-hun said he now believed Yoon's immediate suspension was necessary. The BBC's Laura Bika reports.
Obviously, we are beginning to learn a lot more about what happened on that night when martial law was declared, and he says that there is evidence that President Yoon was going to put the politicians in a detention centre, and he says Mr. Yoon remains a risk to public safety and to the Republic of Korea. Now, that is his reasoning for coming out today and saying that it is time that he is removed from office.
Recapping the top story, former State Security Minister Bongani Bongo, former head of the Mpumalanga Human Settlements Department David Dube, and 16 others are free men. This after the Middleburg Specialized Commercial Crimes Court acquitted them of corruption charges on Wednesday. I am Ondelambana for SAFM News headlines at 11:30.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk. If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Get ready to honor Madiba's legacy together. Join us on 8 December at the Union Buildings in Tshwane, Gauteng, as we pay tribute to Nelson Mandela with the Mandela Remembrance Walk and Run. There's a distance for everyone: 21 kilometers, 10-kilometer run, and a 5-kilometer scenic walk. Enjoy loads of entertainment and plenty of fun for the kids. If you can't be there in person, you can participate from wherever you are, uniting with thousands around the country to honor Nelson Mandela's vision of unity, equality, and a just society. All proceeds will support the Nelson Mandela Foundation. Register now at mandelawalkandrun.com. Let's come together to remember Madiba. In proud partnership with Gauteng Province, the City of Tshwane, and SABC Sport. See you there. Let's make it a day to remember.
The Friday Wind Down. Kick off your weekend the right way.
That is Rabela by Ronnie L. Mulawudzi. He is our Friday wind down guest for this morning. Ronnie, good morning to you. Welcome to the Friday wind down.
Good morning, Cathy. Thank you so much for inviting me over. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Well, we're looking forward to learning a little bit more about you and, of course, also your music. Your latest project, Rabela, A Journey of Restoration. Speak to us a bit about how you put this project together. I understand much of it was literally out of the experiences that you had during COVID-19.
Yes, that's absolutely right, Cathy. So, this project, so it's my second album, and it really is a personal one. My first one came out in 2019. So since then until now, I hadn't done any work. And so, when it went to do COVID, I was going through my own personal, journey in my marriage, which led up to a divorce. And COVID happened, and so at that time I think it just felt like the whole world is pressing on me, and that it was quite a tough, dark time, and I thought the one way that I know how to express what I'm going through, what I'm feeling, it's through music. And so during that time I started to write material for this album. And Rabera was one of the very first songs that actually came, the song that you just played a moment ago. And literally this song is, it's a story, it was a reminder for me. So going through that tough time, into COVID, getting divorced and all of that, it was a reminder, my mom's words kept on coming to my heart when she would say, whatever you go through in life, never ever throw away your faith, your God, and always stay connected in prayer to Him. And so hence, the album is called Rabera, which means literally pray. It was quite an interesting, I think, journey putting together the material for the album. But I think it ended up being really a story of my belief that, God can restore you, even if you go through a tough time and it feels like when you're going through it, nothing positive is going to come out of it.
Ronnie, 2019, when you released your first project, you of course won the Crown Gospel Music Award for Best Gospel and R&B. You also won the Best Newcomer Award at the Chivenda Music Awards. So it was quite a high for you that year. Do you think that that's part of what also made it difficult, that you had this really exceptional year, and to then go into COVID and have all of these challenges that you were facing is certainly not anything that you would have been planning or anticipating, given how your star had been rising in 2019?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it was almost like that anticlimax, of having gone through, riding this wave of success and being celebrated, only for all of that to seem like it's, coming crashing down. But I think in all of it, there are lessons, and the lesson is that life can still happen, whilst great things are happening. And so we always have to be prepared, ourselves mentally, spiritually, to tackle whatever life throws at us. Because nobody plans, to get married and get divorced. Nobody plans, for the world to shut down and, jobs are lost and the economy goes down and, all of the things that we experienced in that period happen. But life happens, and so we just have to stay prepared to face whatever life throws at us.
How would you say that affected your faith? Because, you're a worship leader, you're a minister, so having to deal with something like divorce within that space of Christianity in particular is not always easy, and there is still, I think, a lot of negative connotations, social connotations, that people experience, especially within those heavily religious circles that you often then have to deal with, on top of the difficulty that you're facing at a personal level.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, reflecting on this, Cathy, it's quite challenging. So I think there is one thing that we need to learn as the body of Christ, as Christians, that in fact, the message, I think, of salvation, it's one of grace, it's one of hope, it's one of forgiveness. But sometimes when people close to us in church, in our cell group, and the people that we fellowship with, when they go through things, often we judge them. Often we say you didn't pray enough. Often we say maybe you were disobedient to God. But I think if we were to focus more on what Jesus would focus on, which was really about grace and forgiveness, I think we would see the body of Christ go far. We would see a lot more people in church healed. I think what still is painful for me to acknowledge is that we have a lot of broken people in church that are not healing, not because healing isn't there, but because the environment, in church has become somewhat toxic as well, and isn't facilitating for us to have the conversations about, what is going wrong in our relationships. If we're parents, how can we heal our relationship with our children? Husbands and wives, what's going on? Can we provide further support? And so I think for me that it made that a lot more clearer for me, and it also helped me to be a lot more gracious towards other people, and and what they could potentially be going through that I have no idea about. Instead of sitting on a high horse and because my life is okay, then judging other people for the tough things that they go through.
We're in conversation with Ronnie Mulaudzi. He is a gospel artist and also our guest for the Friday Wind Down. We'll continue with the conversation and bring you more of his music. Ronnie, I suppose it's not bad news, but the only note I have to put out there to you and our listeners is that we are keeping a close eye on what is an upcoming briefing on the parole decision around Janus Valush. He, of course, has finished serving the 2-year sentence that he was meant to serve in South Africa. So now the government has to give an update on whether or not he's going to be extradited back to his home country. So we'll have to keep a close eye on it. And, of course, Valush being convicted for the killing of Chris Hani. So that's just one of the notes I have to put out there, Ronnie, also for you to be mindful of. But I'll let you know if it happens during this hour that the conversation is taking place. His latest title offering is Rabela, A Journey of Restoration, and I'm going to bring you more of the music from there.
Running your own building business? Time is money, and Buco gets that. Early morning deliveries, you'll have everything you need to hit the ground running. Buco has extended trading hours so you can grab those last-minute essentials or save even more time and order online at buco.co.za. It's quick, easy, and convenient. Visit our new Buco store in Stratham Park, corner Frida and CR Swat Drive for every step and every build. Begin with Buco.
Buco. The Rockets and Usutu are both looking for 3 points to relocate from the bottom half. This is the Betway Premiership. Catch the unmatched passion and drama of Ibola Nasemzansi. TS Galaxy FC versus Amazulu FC. This Saturday, 7th December, live on SABC 1 at 3 p.m. and SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Also, available everywhere, for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Get ready to win big this holiday season with SAFM. Text Christmas to 41391 to stand a chance to win one of 12 amazing mystery prizes. SMS lines open on the 29th of November and close on the 24th of December 2024. Winners will be announced between the 26th and the 31st of December. Each SMS costs R1.50, so hurry up and send your entries now. Terms and conditions apply. Get into the festive spirit and win big with SAFM this Christmas. Celebrating our music heritage right here on the Friday Wind Down.
News headlines at 11:30 on SFM. I am Lambana and a very good morning. Political parties in the Hang Tabazimbi local municipality in Limpopo have started talks on the formation of a coalition government. Former State Security Minister Bongani Bongo, former head of the Mpumalanga Human Settlements Department David Dube, and 16 others are free men, and various political parties are strongly against Parliament's approval of President Cyril Ramaphosa's salary increase. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
And intelligence structures, commonly known as the night joints, following a cabinet briefing earlier this week. In preparation for this deportation, Cabinet assigned Deputy President Mr. Paul Mashatile, the Minister in the Presidency Kumbuzo Nchabeni, Minister of Justice Ms. Mamuluko Kupai, and Minister of Home Affairs Dr. Leon Schreiber to visit the family of the late Krisani to inform them of these developments. During this engagement, the government delegation received a request for an inquest from Mr. Hani's wife or widow and the South African Communist Party. The request will be referred to the Department of Justice and Correctional Services to process it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister, for the statement. Colleagues, let me open first for questions in the press room, and later on we'll take the questions that are online. The drill is the same. You'll indicate the media house that you come from and then also introduce yourself. Let me see if we have any hands in the house. Noted. In that order, let me recognize the hands. Yes.
Good morning. I hope you can all hear me. My name is Lukhani Khalad. I am from Newsroom Africa. Just a couple of questions from me, please. So when do we expect Mr. Walush to be deported? Today? When is he actually leaving the country? Other than the meeting with the family, which we understand from both the SACP and the family that the meeting took place this week, why was that meeting only done this week when we obviously knew that Mr. Walush's parole expires today, and then just thirdly, so is the Polish government actually flying him out, or are we as a country, and Mrs. Hani was a taxpayer, is her tax actually flying her murderous husband out of this country? I just need those three questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I recognize the hand there. Yes, press the red button. Thank you.
Bernadette Wicks from News 24. I just wanted some more clarity. Sorry, I might have missed it, but some more clarity on the request that Mrs. Hani and the SACP had made. I just wanted to explain exactly what they were asking for, please.
Thank you very much. Any other hand? I don't see any other hand. On that note, I will give over to the Minister in the Presidency, and she would give direction who will respond to the questions.
Thank you very much, and good morning from my side as well on what is a difficult day for all of us and for South Africa. Allow me to respond to the first three questions that were asked. We can indicate that the deportation will take place today still, so it is happening on the 6th of December. The question around the meeting, let me indicate from the Home Affairs side that as soon as we were informed about our role here, this issue was immediately taken to first the JCPS cluster and then to the full cabinet meeting which took place on Wednesday. You'll appreciate that Home Affairs comes in at the end of such a process. It's the last phase of this particular Constitutional Court ordered process, and so from the Home Affairs side we can indicate that we certainly appreciated fully the sensitivity and urgency of this matter, and we acted upon that immediately, including in terms of being part of the delegation to engage with the family once Cabinet had made that indication. Finally, the question around costs. It was one of the very first things that I queried as well, and I'm happy to report that South African taxpayers, including Mr. Hani's widow, will not be paying for the deportation of this individual. the Polish embassy has indicated that they will do so. And I think that reflects once again the urgency and sensitivity with which Home Affairs is handling this matter to make sure that we make the best of a very difficult situation, at least in terms of the administrative and other processing matters that are required of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. In relation to the request Osdimpo and together with SSCP. And what the process will be is that we will definitely engage with them, because this was made when we met with them. So we'll take the process, look at the legal framework, and because they believe that there's evidence that could have led to a different conclusion. There are things that they believe were not looked into that they shared with us in the meeting. So we will definitely have to take that up with the various bodies that are responsible for this work, and we will interact with the family together with the SSCP in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Ministers of Home Affairs and Justice. Let me check if we have any questions online. Tagalan?
There was a question about payment.
Yeah, I think he responded. Do we have any questions online, Tagalan?
No, thank you, Mr. B. So far, we don't have any question online.
Thank you very much. It means the statement and the matters as clarified were very clear. And thank you very much. Given that, Minister, you read the statement, we will also, in the absence of...
All right, so that particular statement coming out of a briefing that includes the Ministers of Correctional Services, Home Affairs and the Presidency, and you heard the Minister in Chaveni being the one to make that announcement around the status then of Janusz Walus, who is Chris Hane's killer. Today he ends the 2 years that he was meant to serve in South Africa. This is under community corrections. So then the officials confirming that Janusz will be deported to his home country of Poland later on today. That will be at the cost of the Polish. The family, the SACP, have requested for an inquest into his murder to be opened, and the officials are looking at processing that. But as things stand, he is now headed back to Poland, 71 years old, and of course he spent almost 3 decades in prison following that killing of Chris Hani. I think there's going to be so much to be said about this moment, right? That moment of Chris Hani being killed during the negotiations in this country almost brought this country to the brink of civil war. And 30 years on, we talk about 30 years of democracy, and we celebrate 30 years of democracy. And in the last month of the 30th year of South Africa's democracy, Janusz Walus flies home, probably on a private plane, to Poland. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot to be said about this moment, but so many different things come to mind, but we can reflect on it throughout the rest of the day, and undoubtedly it'll still be something worth talking about on Monday when we come back on air. It is the Friday wind down. We are going to continue with that, so I'm going to take a quick break. Ronnie Molaudzi is our guest for the Friday wind down, and his album is titled Restoration, a journey of restoration, Rabela. And maybe that's what we need to do as a country in this moment, right? We need to pray and we need to pray for restoration. All right, we'll take a quick break, and I'm back with Ronnie on the other side of this.
After registering wins in their Group C opening matches, the Buccaneers and the Red Devils now meet each other. The South tackles the North. This is the Total Energies CAF Champions League. Witness the incredible flavor of African football. Orlando Pirates versus Al Ahly this Saturday, 7th December at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC3 and SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Also available everywhere for everyone. Always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Channel the power of resilience on Afternoon Express, Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. on S3 with Sama-winning couple Pretty Ugly and Montle Modisele Malloy sharing their secrets for love. We also chat about how to manage conflict and give tips on overcoming disappointment. For the sweltering days of summer, try a mango and peach mojito mocktail. That's Afternoon Express this Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. only on S3. Repeat Sundays at 8:30 a.m.
Celebrating our music heritage right here on the Friday Wind Down.
Trust me again. Would you trust me on this one? Hey, same God moved your mountain, and I can do it again. Yes, I can. Same God fought your battles. I always win. Same God calm your waters in the sea. Hey, would you trust me again? Would you trust me? Yeah. On this one, I'll never leave you. I'll never leave, no forsake. I am here. Through all the storms and no pain, I'll be here, giving you strength, teaching you. Only He can save.
You Are God by Ronnie Molaudzi, who is our Friday wind down guest. Ronnie, so we've had a little bit of music, a bit of breaking news in between, and and we're going to continue the conversation and maybe look then to what you're expecting out of your next project. And now that you're sort of back, as it were, what have you got planned?
Yeah, so I think at the moment we're just promoting Rabera, which is the new project. We've got a few videos that we've shot as well for this album, and so some of them are available on YouTube, and some of them will still be coming out this year and early next year as well. So I've got one video that's coming up. Actually, Rabera is the video that's coming up next week, and so people can just look out for that in time.
Gospel music is a very popular genre for South Africans. Just last weekend, there was the National Prayer Day that was held by the Motsepe Foundation. And I must say, FNB Stadium was packed to capacity. And every time that a gospel artist came on, you can imagine the place just... It went absolutely crazy. So South Africans really do love their gospel music. But do you get a sense that there's some genres of gospel that are more popular than others? And I wonder how that influences the kind of music that you produce and you put out there.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting question. And I think it's become quite dynamic, I think, the gospel music industry. I think earlier on in the early 90s, what was a lot more popular was the traditional, sound in gospel. And so, the Rebeccas, the Vuyamukwenas, tap and clap, and the choirs, very popular at that time. And so contemporary gospel was not very strong or very popular, I think, earlier on. But I think probably for the last decade or so, I think we're seeing quite a lot of contemporary gospel artists in South Africa do quite well. And I think for me, that's really, really an amazing development in the industry. It's not an easy space to be in, the contemporary side, and I think we've seen great examples of contemporary gospel artists. Benjamin Dube is one of them. Earlier on in the days, his music wasn't as popular as the traditional, music. But if you look at it now, I mean, even his numbers are absolutely skyrocketing. Mbambo, the earlier projects were not as popular as the genre has grown now. So I think we're seeing quite a nice balance and an acceptance of a lot more contemporary sound in the gospel space.
And of course, your sound is a lot more contemporary. Are you finding that it's also unlocking perhaps audiences in different generations?
Yes, no, it is. So luckily these days, the music is digital, so we're able to track and see the trends. And one of the interesting ones is that my music is quite popular between the ages of 18 and 32. Which is a more youthful sound. But I also do have quite a nice audience, above 50, which is quite interesting. Because I would think that my music is a little bit maybe too polished for for the older crowd. But yeah, we are seeing that kind of crossover in the generations and what kind of sound and styles of music that they are now, following and interested in hearing.
All right, Ronnie, is there anything else you want to add, including telling our listeners perhaps about any upcoming performances that you may have?
Yes, absolutely. So I think the last thing I can say is I think for me, the music journey has been great. It's been a healing journey. It's been a journey of discovery. It's been a journey of understanding, who God is and having and cultivating a greater and a deeper relationship with Him. It's my strong faith, and nothing can shake me from that. And hopefully, my mom's listening, and she's like rooting and saying, "Yeah, all her prayers over the years have worked." And so, I think that's what music has done for me, especially gospel, as an artist, but also because I also am a consumer of what I produce. So it's also healed me before it actually heals others. And so people can follow me on my social media platforms to see what I'm doing. But I am going to do a launch of Rabera next year in March, and I'll announce the dates on my social media pages.
Ronnie, thank you so much for coming onto the show. One of our listeners says he is a handsome and talented brother, and indeed the best version of ourselves comes out during very trying times. I'm going to wrap up this conversation with Uyabusa, which is also a title off of his latest offering. I trust you're going to have yourselves a lovely weekend. We, of course, will be back leading the conversations that move us between 9 and midday on Monday.
Morning, Cathy, as well as our guest. Well, you introduced me to the new artist today. I'll be honest with you, KD. I was not familiar with his sound, but so far so good. But I can't help it. His gospel music sound more like an R&B. He's got an R&B voice. So yeah, I'm gonna explore more in terms of his sounds, but it's quality music that he's singing. I think he must do the R&B more, because I'm the R&B guy. You know what? I'm inviting him over to my department. That's where I think he will strive more. Cathy. Thank you very much for the great show, Cathy.
The Friday Wind Down. Kick off your weekend the right way.
emhlabeni wonke uyabusa ngenkosi uphakeme kakhulu Give me
Think festive season. Can you hear it? See it? Now imagine it purple. Yes, forget the tinsel because Click season is purple. It's that time of the year for the famous Clicks 3 for 2 purple sticker promotion. Mix and match any 3 festive gifts with a purple sticker and get the cheapest one free. Clicks. Feel good, pay less. Deals valid until 24 December or while stocks last. T's and C's apply.
Stellies are searching for their first win in Group B, while the Oranges boys, RSB, are hunting for their second victory to keep the top spot. This is the Total Energies CAF Confederation Cup. Experience the joy of African football. Stellenbosch FC versus RS Picane this Sunday, 8 December at 3 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
It's 12 o'clock on Friday, the 6th of December 2024. Very warm welcome to Update at Noon here on SAFM. Leading the conversation, I'm John Gericke, standing in for Sakina Kamwendo, who's taking the day off today. Coming up this hour.
The National Commissioner of Correctional Services will formally hand over Janus Walus to the Department of Home Affairs for deportation.
Yanis Valles, the man convicted of killing ANC leader Chris Hani in 1993, is set to be deported to Poland.
All the injured, as far as I know, and the weak ones are out now. And we are taking, how can I say, the more healthy or the more fit people are coming out now.
And rescue operations in the South Sabi disused mine shaft have resumed. Let's get sports headlines. Lisa Lolofir.
Kyle Verreynne gets his 100 as the Proteas are dismissed for 358 in their first innings on day 2 of the second test against Sri Lanka in Gqeberha. And the South African Rugby Union has rejected a proposal to accept a potential private equity investment in the sport's commercial rights. More coming up at 12:30.
One of those days where you could be here for days doing all the sports. Looking forward to all of that. Share your views with us. 41391. It's at R1.50 in SMS. You can call 086 000 2032. WhatsApp voice note on 082 692 3909 or post your comments on Twitter or Facebook at SABC News _radio and on X using the hashtag Update at Noon. That and more coming up in today's edition of Update at Noon. Let's first get the latest news with Undela Mbana.
Thank you, John. In the top stories, Chris Hani's killer to be deported to Poland, and some political parties oppose the approval of Ramaphosa's salary increase. For SAFM News, I am Ondela Mbana, and a very good day. We start with breaking news. Former SACP leader Chris Hani's killer, Janusz Walus, will be deported to Poland. Ministers of Justice, Home Affairs, Correctional Services and the Presidency made the announcement in a media briefing outside Hani's home in Don Park, Ekurhuleni. We'll have the details in our next bulletin. Political parties in the Hang Tabazimbi local municipality in Limpopo have started talks on the formation of a coalition government. 7 political parties got a share of the council's 23 seats in Wednesday's by-election. The by-election is a third electoral process to produce a Hang council since the 2016 local government elections. ANC Provincial Secretary Ruben Madadze says they are seeking a mandate from the party's national leadership to finalize the coalition talks.
We are open to engage with any party that wants to engage with the ANC, but there are parties that we are talking to. We are so sure that we are going to govern with another party here. We had informal engagements with them. What we need to do is to go to the formal structures of the ANC and seek proper mandate so that we can conclude. Over the weekend we'll have concluded with the party that or parties that we are talking to.
Former State Security Minister Bongani Bongo, former head of the Mpumalanga Human Settlements Department David Dube, and 16 others are free men. This after the Middleburg Specialized Commercial Crimes Court acquitted them of corruption charges on Wednesday. Dube and Bongo were implicated in fraud and corruption related to 74 million rand in land deals. They allegedly inflated the cost of 2 farms they bought in Navubord in Emalahleni and Reitsbreed in Ermelo for the Provincial Human Settlements Department in 2021. Dube says the charges were politically motivated.
This matter has destroyed my family. It has affected my kids adversely, and it even affected my kids in their academic field. It literally destroyed my family. As for my political life, it's gone. This case took it away. I was contesting to become a chairperson of the province at some stage, but because people realized that I had good chances, they used the case against me. And then they said, no, you must step down because there's this case against you. And then when they knew that my chances of becoming the chairperson of the province were very, very high.
Various political parties are strongly against Parliament's approval of President Cyril Ramaphosa's salary increase. They include the EFF and the Umkhonto weSizwe Party. ANC Chief Whip Mdumiseni Nduli tabled a draft motion in response to the recommendation of the Independent Commission for the Remuneration of Public Office Bearers in May. The Commission had recommended a 3% annual increase for the 2023-24 financial year and a 2.5% increase for 2024-25 for all office bearers, including Ramaphosa. According to the ANC, Ramaphosa has not had a salary increase since he became president in 2018. MK Party Chief Whip Mzwanele Manyi.
We have a president who we are made to believe is a multi-billionaire. I'm not even talking about an increase. Why even need a salary? Why would a multi-billionaire need a salary in the first instance? The second thing, which is a moral issue, public servants, the backbone of service delivery, they've been denied salary increases for the past 4 years. Any head of state with any semblance of morality or altruism in his body, why would a person like that, as a multi-billionaire, say, I want an increase?
In international news, police in New York have revealed new clues in the hunt for the gunning down of the insurance executive outside a hotel in Manhattan on Wednesday morning. They've issued 2 new images of a person of interest. Brian Thompson was the CEO of the U.S. health insurance company United Healthcare. The BBC's Rowan Bridge has more.
The company's a massive player in the US health market, but Mr. Thompson wasn't a public figure, which raises the question, why was he targeted? It's been revealed the bullet casings found at the scene had the words deny, defend and depose written on them. It's possibly a reference to some of the tactics critics say insurers use not to pay medical bills. Police say it was a planned and calculated attack. 2 days on from Brian Thompson's murder, the suspect remains at large, the motive remains unclear, and the investigation continues at a relentless pace.
Recapping the top story, former SACP leader Chris Hani's killer Janusz Walus will be deported to Poland. I am Mondelambana for SFM News Headlines at 12:30.
Update at noon, midday to 1 p.m. Don Gerika on SAFM.
7 minutes past 12. John in for Sakina. Good afternoon to you. Happy Friday. It's one of those weekends. Plenty sport ahead, but plenty news to tell you about as well in the next hour or so. We're going to have the latest from the Minister of Justice, Home Affairs, Correctional Services. The Presidency held a media briefing today about Jonas Wallace. We'll have an update on that in a moment. Then what is going on at the Mfuleni police station? It's alleged a policeman recently raped a woman in a holding cell on the premises there. Has been in court. Also, that area, the fourth highest reported GBV cases, 80 sexual offences, 66 rapes in just 3 months, mass shooting happening in that area as well. We're going to try and get an update on what exactly is going on in that police station. Then the rescue operations of that mine in Sabi have been suspended until today. So that was the latest news we got. So we'll get an update about the operations to rescue miners. Over 100 illegal miners reported to be underground in that shaft. 41 miners have been retrieved already since the beginning of the operation. We hope to get an update on the SAA pilot strike. If you have a look at the flights, there are no SAA planes in the sky, or at least arriving domestically in Johannesburg when I looked today. Those pilots on strike wanting quite a large salary increase. And after seeing the profits that SAA posted, you would think, well, maybe they deserve a little bit more, but we'll talk hopefully to the SAA pilots. And then there's voting happening in Ghana as well. A little confusing about who is standing. A president who was a president, who wasn't a president, is now hoping to become president again, but we'll get an update on Ghana. They're casting their ballots tomorrow to elect a new president. So that and plenty more coming up in the next hour. But first, let's start with big news breaking this afternoon. Former South African Communist Party leader Chris Hani's killer, Jonas Wallace, will be deported to his home country, Poland. He killed Hani in 1993. In November of 22, the Constitutional Court found then Justice Minister Ronald Damola's decision to refuse Wallace parole in 2020 had been irrational, and they set it aside, paving the way for his release from prison the following month after 28 years behind bars. Minister in the presidency, Khomotso Ntshavheni, announced Wallace's deportation at a media briefing a short while ago.
Several ministers of correctional services denied Walu's application for parole since 2011. On 21 November 2022, the Constitutional Court ordered that Janus Wallace be placed on parole within 10 days of the date of the order, in line with the applicable legislation. At the time, the applicable legislation prescribed a parole period of 2 years. Then Janus Wallace was subsequently placed on parole on the 7th of December 2022, and subject to parole conditions. Today, the 6th of December 2024, the parole period of Janus Wallace has come to an end in line with the Constitutional Court decision. Since Janus Wallace no longer holds any South African enabling documents, the Department of Home Affairs will be deporting him. This morning, the National Commissioner of Correctional Services will formally hand over Janus Wallace to the Department of Home Affairs for deportation. The handover and deportation process is being overseen by the National Joint Operational and Intelligence Structures, commonly known as the Night Joints, following a cabinet briefing earlier this week. In preparation for this deportation, Cabinet assigned Deputy President Mr. Paul Mashatile, the Minister in the Presidency Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, Minister of Justice Ms. Mamuluko Kubai, and Minister of Home Affairs Dr. Leon Schreiber to visit the family of the late Chris Hani to inform them of these developments. During this engagement, the government delegation received a request for an inquest from Mr. Hani's wife or widow and the South African Communist Party. The request will be referred to the Department of Justice and Correctional Services to process it.
Minister for the Presidency, Khomotso Ntshavheni. Meanwhile, Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber says South African taxpayers will not be carrying the costs for the deportation of Jonas Wallace back to Poland.
On what is a difficult day for all of us and for South Africa. Allow me to respond to the first three questions that were asked. We can indicate that the deportation will take place today still. So it is happening on the 6th of December. The question around the meeting, let me indicate from the Home Affairs side that as soon as we were informed about our role here, this issue was immediately taken to first the JCPS cluster and then to the full cabinet meeting which took place on Wednesday. You'll appreciate that Home Affairs comes in at the end of such a process. It's the last phase of this particular Constitutional Court audit process. And so from the Home Affairs side, we can indicate that we certainly appreciated fully the sensitivity and urgency of this matter, and we acted upon that immediately, including in terms of being part of the delegation to engage with the family once Cabinet had made that indication. Finally, the question around costs. It was one of the very first things that I queried as well, and I'm happy to report that South African taxpayers, including Mr. Hani's widow, will not be paying for the deportation of this individual. The Polish embassy has indicated that they will do so, and I think that reflects once again the urgency and sensitivity with which Home Affairs is handling this matter to make sure that we make the best of a very difficult situation, at least in terms of the administrative and other processing matters that are required of us.
Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber, and we're hoping to get more reaction to this through the hour.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
You're with SAFM. It's 13 minutes past 12 o'clock. Let's get the latest now on allegations of rape and crimes being committed in the Mohlahlana police station in Cape Town. It's alleged a policeman recently raped a woman in a holding cell on the premises. It's the station said to have the fourth highest reported GBV cases, 80 sexual offences and 66 rapes in just 3 months. Let's get clarity of exactly what's happening there with our reporter Corbin August in Cape Town. Corbin, thank you very much for joining us. Let's talk about this alleged rape in the cells. How did we learn about the story? Corbin, are you there?
Well, good day to you, John. Good day to the listeners as well. In fact, it was the police who initially confirmed that there was an incident that occurred and an investigation was underway. So it was the police themselves who actually indicated that there was an incident that they were busy investigating, and the matter has been handed over to IPID for further investigation. At this stage, we do know that the accused has already made his first appearance in court, and he will be is expected to appear again up in the next Monday, and that's for bail applications.
We spoke to police. I understand the matter is being investigated by IPID, as you said. How long does that process normally take?
There's no clear time frame for how long that investigation will take. At this stage, they only have the initial reports. But with an investigation like this that happened, right inside the police station, one would expect them to perhaps move but at a faster pace with the investigation, given all of their resources in terms of investigating, and also given that there are probably cameras and other surveillance operations that normal police stations would employ just to keep members and also people who are there safe. So at this stage, John, there's no clear indication for how long this investigation will last. The matter is with IPID, and when we spoke to police earlier, they also referred us to IPID. So at this stage, there are no further details regarding the actual investigation that have been furnished to us at this stage, but we do know that the accused will be making another court appearance on Monday.
Talk to me, if you can, Corbin, about Mohlahlana. The police station getting all these sexual offence reports, as I've said, it's massive. There's also been some mass shootings in that area as well. What is happening?
Well, yes, it's an area that's plagued by high levels of crime and GBV violence, as you indicated. So we do know that there have been over 80 sexual assault offences reported just over the last 3 months. We were also in the area on Monday for the recent mass shooting in the area. So it's an area that is under siege, one could say. And there's many incidents of crime and GBV. And when we visited the police station today, we were met there by the deputy leader of BOSA, Bold One South Africa, Nobunto Schlazo Webster. And, they were conducting a visit to the police station just to ascertain what the working conditions are and what the environment is and what resources those officers actually have to deal with this high level of crime and GBV violence there in the area. And of course, what they were saying is that this recent incident of this alleged rape in the holding cell, it now brings into question the safety of all these GBV victims who actually want to come into the police station to report their cases. So it's an ongoing issue, and it's an ongoing challenge that police station in particular faces with those high levels of crime, GBV, and all those other violence incidents.
We have to give credit where credit's due. The policeman has gone to court. The arrest of that mass shooting, people have been arrested. So it looks as if police are doing their work on those conditions. What is the conditions of that police station?
Well, it's a police station like any other across the country. So you would have your members in blue coming in every day, using their vehicles to go out on patrols. They are, conducting these various search and operations, just trying to clamp down on crime in the area. We do know that forces are also being bolstered in the area to ensure that they maybe clamp down on those high levels of crime. So they also have their challenges, but they're doing what they can with the resources that they have.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much. That was our reporter, Corbin August, reporting from Cape Town.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 104.5 FM in Stellenbosch. Don Gerika on SAFM.
Well, let's stay with that story. As you heard Corbin telling you, Bossa was at the police station looking into the conditions of that police station. Nobuntu Hlazo-Webster is Bossa deputy leader, also a member of parliament. Nobuntu, thank you very much for joining us. What do you make of these allegations of a rape in the prison, in the jail cells in the police station?
I mean, the whole incident is just horrific, and it's something that is completely unacceptable. What it does is, first of all, and what we're finding out from the police station is what are the conditions in that police station. But I think more importantly for me is how can we have the kind of personnel who can violate somebody like this in a place that should be one of the safest spaces for anybody to be at. So really that's what we were finding out, and what I make out of it really is a number of things, and part of that is that we have got to really call the department to task about the screening that happens with police officials that stay on even after, for example, in this case, a police officer who actually has a previous domestic violence case, and there he is still being responsible for being somebody who should be ensuring the safety of citizens.
As we heard Corbin say, it's gone to IPID, but are you taking this higher and in general looking at how constables are given their positions?
Absolutely, we are. So there's a number of processes that we're going to take. The first one is about this. We are going to be writing to the minister about the processes, and I mean, speaking even to the deputy station commander, he expressed his own concern about how often their own hands are tied in terms of who gets to continue in service, even when they see various issues with some of the police officers that are actually on the payroll and that continue to be in service. And so this is something that we will take up and write to the Minister of Police about. But I mean, there are other various issues that you then have to look at. You also just have to look at even the safety within the holding cells. How safe are people in holding cells? When this patrol was happening, was this police officer alone? Is this how it always works? Other ways to make sure that there's safety that happens in police stations. But I think for me, what is even more worrying is if you have a police officer that can rape somebody who's in a holding cell, how much more a victim who is coming into a police station to report a rape case, does that person not become more vulnerable to somebody like that?
We also heard Corbin say you were there to look at the conditions of the police station. What are the conditions that the men in blue that are having to work in?
Look, so particularly as it pertains to gender-based violence, the processes are such that when you come in, you come in and you report, and then you go to a specific GBV desk where you should be able to get specialized kind of support or even trauma support. But it's not the case in this particular police station. What they do is they do refer to a specialized unit that then comes and collects victims, and sometimes there's backlog, and that takes time, and the victims have to wait quite a while, and so those are the things that are concerning about such a sensitive case. And the reality is that at this particular police station, just over the past 3 months, there's been 80 sexual offences, and there's been 66 rapes. So you have to make sure that adequately resourced.
Sorry to interrupt, just so I understand. So a rape victim goes to the police station to report a rape, and then they've got to just sit around and wait for the special unit to come?
So, and the way that they explain it is they then go to this GBV desk, which I went and I saw, and it's just a room that is away from the general public area, and they take their statement, but they do then wait. They can wait. Apparently, the average waiting time is 2 to 3 hours, depending on how busy the unit is, the specialized unit is, and how long it takes them to come and attend to that victim. So yes, that is what it looks like.
Is this
and that's only when that process, that specialized process of then maybe going to the district surgeon, etc., then takes place.
Is this a normal thing that happens at police stations, or is this just a once-off thing that's happening in Umfuleni?
It does happen in various other police stations. I know for a fact that it happens in 5 other police stations in the neighboring area to Mfuleni, where the same process is what takes place. So those are the kinds of things that we've been raising as Boldon said, to say actually at police stations, first of all, you have to have a trauma support unit, because having arrived with such a traumatizing type of incident to report, it shouldn't be that first of all you are dealt with because you are being dealt with currently now by just a general officer. So even at GBV desk, it's just a general officer taking your statement. So that shouldn't be the case. You should have specially trained officers that are there, and you should have the kind of support that means you're not sitting waiting for the specialized unit for hours on end. And so these are the types of issues that we're raising to the Department of Police.
Thank you very much. Nombuntu Hlazo-Webster, Bossa Deputy Leader.
Update at noon, midday to 1 p.m.
Let's go to Mpumalanga now. The rescue operations in the South Sabi disused mine shaft have resumed. A total number of 41 illegal miners have been retrieved since the beginning of the operation. 3 bodies retrieved on Wednesday. Over 100 illegal miners are reported to be underground. The shaft, which is about 180 meters deep. Let's get the latest now. Mpumalanga Provincial Coordinator of Police Diving Services, Captain J.C. Potgieter, joining us now. Captain, thank you very much for joining us. How's the rescue operation going?
Good morning. Yes, it's going excellently, I can say today. We've retrieved, I think we're standing on 45, 47 miners that have come up. There's about 32 left underground from the 150 that we started with. So it's going excellently. Once again, the weather conditions and stuff is a bit tough. It's very hot here. But the policemen, the guys from the search and rescue are doing an excellent job. If it wasn't for them, I can guarantee you that we wouldn't be where we are now. So, everybody's doing his part. Everybody is where he's supposed to be, and the things are running smoothly. And hopefully by the end of this day, we can confirm that everybody's been taken out.
We've seen conditions of the Stilfontein miners that are coming out, and they're emaciated. They've got dehydration. What are the conditions of the miners in this mine shaft?
No, exactly the same. Remember, 3 of them died. And then we took out all the injured guys came out. We took out, I think, 5 or 6 guys, broken arms, broken legs. These people haven't eaten in the last 2 weeks, going on to 3 weeks. So everybody that we took out all the injured persons first, and all the people that are left are, like you say, they're underfed. you must also remember the reports that we have is that none of these people wanted to be here. So all of them are very bad condition. But like I say, we've got an ambulance or 2 or 3 ambulances on scene. So as the people come out, they are put into an ambulance. They are checked there. From there, if they need medical attention, they're taken to the nearest hospital. The ones that don't need medical attention are taken to the police station for further investigation.
All right, so they might have been duped into this mining. Have you worked out, or is there some sort of investigation into who the kingpins might be?
No, that's the CIG guys or the guys from the detectives. They'll definitely be following up on that. So unfortunately, I can't tell you how far that investigation is, but I can guarantee you there will be one.
There's also a language barrier. They don't all speak English, or there's a language issue when you bring the miners out?
No, for sure. We're making use of translators. So far, it's going well. Luckily for us, because we've got people from the military here, we've got people that are here on from different backgrounds. So we're sorting out. Luckily, people can speak different languages. So no, that's not really a barrier for us. It's a problem we've solved.
Tell us, if you can, some of the stories that the miners are saying, what the conditions are like underground.
No, I can promise you one thing, my friend. It's a pity you can't see the visuals. When these people come up, they're literally crying from relief to be out of that hole. So, and as I said, according to them, none of them wanted to be here in the first place. So I think you can, for yourself, work out how grateful they are to be out of that place.
And the police haven't found any, there must be somebody holding them down there. They haven't found those people.
No, that's true. No, but they are coming up as well. Remember, we're not going to leave anybody here when we finish up.
Right.
Even the guys that were holding them were in the same situation. Remember, they also haven't eaten.
Sure.
So they're sitting exactly in the same problem as the people they've had there. So no, they will definitely be identified, and there will be a different type of investigation onto them.
Will everything be finished today? You say the weather conditions are hot, but you're feeling confident?
I'm feeling confident. If things can keep on running like they do, if we don't get any new technical problems, if the weather holds up and we don't have an extreme lightning like we did last night, then I'm very confident we can finish today.
I realize you're part of the rescue operation, Captain, but what stops somebody from going down there again on Monday?
No, unfortunately, like I said, my friend, there's no guarantees on that. That's unfortunate. That is the situation we have in the country. What can I say? We might be back here again within the next month or two. Unfortunately, as long as people are suffering and as long as people need to survive, stuff like this won't stop.
Captain JC Potgieter, thank you very much. Mpumalanga Provincial Coordinator of the Police Diving Services. You're with SAFM. Coming up, we got sport with Liesel in a moment. I don't know how she's picking what the sport is today. We've got business in a moment, and then we'll find out what the elections are going to be like in Ghana. All of that after news headlines, 12:30.
Thank you, John. In the news headlines, Minister in the Presidency, Khumbudzo Ntabeni, has announced that former SACP leader Chrisani's killer Janusz Walus will be deported to Poland. She was addressing the media outside Hani's home in Don Park in Ekurhuleni. Political parties in the Hang Tabazimbi local municipality in Limpopo have started talks on the formation of a coalition government. 7 political parties got a share of the council's 23 seats in Wednesday's by-election. And Umkhonto weSizwe Party member Kenan Mdletshe has died in a car crash. Mdletshe's family has confirmed his death. It is believed his vehicle collided with a truck between Mtubatuba and Hlabisa in northern KwaZulu-Natal. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
And it's good afternoon to Isaac Oudendal, investment strategist at Old Mutual Wealth.
Hi, good afternoon. Yeah, so the moment the Rand trading at 18.05 against the US dollar. It's been around this level for the last couple of weeks in this sort of very narrow trading range around 18. JSE All-Share Index just shy of 87,000 points. And the All-Share has basically recouped most of the losses since the US election. So it's also had quite a nice rally over the last couple of days. Also of note, perhaps, is the oil price. It's down a bit today, trading at $71 $71.70 against, or $71.70 per barrel. Obviously, South Africans like it when the oil price is lower because it means ultimately we're looking at lower fuel prices. The big news item this week from the economic point of view was clearly the GDP result that was disappointing in the third quarter. Economists expected a positive GDP print, and instead we got a 0.3% decline in GDP. That was largely due to a very, very large decline in the agricultural output. Agriculture is a small sector in the South African economy, but the decline was so big, it was 30%, that it actually pulled the whole GDP number into negative territory. I don't think we must read too much into that. I think the underlying economic story in South Africa is still improving. We're still benefiting from lower inflation, from falling interest rates, from the fact that we haven't had load shedding since the beginning of the year. And we've seen confidence indicators improving, business confidence, consumer confidence. So I think all of that still points to, as we head into 2025, to a much improved economic outlook. So yeah, disappointing news this week, but I don't think we should get too hung up about it and read too much into it. I think 2025 will be a better year for the South African economy.
Isaac Woodendal, thank you very much. Investment strategist at Old Mutual Wealth.
This is SAFM Sport.
Liesl Ulifir is here. Liesl, I was doing the maths now.
Yes.
18 hours of test cricket.
Say again?
18 hours of test cricket.
Awesome, isn't it?
From midnight when New Zealand
Yes.
started until the end of the Proteas Day today.
Correct.
Hey,
Isn't it wonderful? And it's good. I think it's good to see some test cricket, red ball cricket.
Oh, and pink ball.
Exactly.
playing the pink ball.
Exactly. Day,
But
night.
real cricket. It's a sport.
Proper.
Yeah. What's happening?
Proper.
Tell
I
us
agree
about,
with you.
Tell us about it all.
Well, we start with cricket news. South Africa were dismissed for 358 in their first innings on day 2 of the second test against Sri Lanka in Gqeberha. The South Africans resumed their first innings on 269 for 7 this morning after winning the toss and electing to bat first. Kyle Verreynne finished not out on 105. He joins Ryan Rickleton, who scored his 100. It was 101 yesterday. Rickleton said he's proud of his achievement, not only for himself, but also for this team.
I've always believed that I can do something useful at international level, but it was always just going to be the case of can I prove it, can I do it, and then can I prove it to myself. So it's just more the relief that comes with it, just in my own cap to say, you know, I've waited my time, but I can do it, because there's always those doubts. They live in everyone, they definitely live in me. So, you know, after a couple failures here and there and some, you know, can I do it? Is it just, you know, am I speaking a good game? I think this team's got something nice brewing quite quickly, and it's a nice group of guys, and everyone's pushing each other. So to contribute to a growing team is obviously great, and obviously to tick that off my own personal feather in my cap to obviously so that I can do this is something I'm really stoked about.
Ryan Rickleton. Well, it's lunchtime at St. George's Park. Sri Lanka are on 19 without loss. In Wellington, meanwhile, New Zealand are in trouble against England on day 1 of the second test. The Kiwis sent England in to bat first, but they were dismissed for just 280. Harry Brook made 123 and Ollie Pope 66. In reply, New Zealand were on 85 for 5 at stumps. The tourists comfortably won the first test in Christchurch by 8 wickets. And in the day-night test match between Australia and India in Adelaide, India were dismissed for 180 earlier today. Mitchell Starc took 6 for 48 in 14.1 overs. Australia's latest available score, 44 for 1. India recorded a massive 295-run win over the Aussies in the first test in Perth. The South African Rugby Union has rejected a proposal to accept a potential private equity investment in the sport's commercial rights. SARU says in a statement that was released a short while ago that the proposal failed to reach the 75% majority required for such a transaction to be approved. 7 of the 13 member unions with voting rights opposed the proposal, but SARU added that the US-based Achilles Sports Group has an exclusivity period until the end of the year to make a revised offer should it wish to do so. SARU President Mark Alexander says the union's goal remains to secure a sustainable and prosperous future for South African rugby. There's also a lot of rugby action on the field this weekend, with World Rugby's Cape Town Sevens tournament taking place in the mother city. Two-time World Series winner and Commonwealth Games gold medalist Mfundo Ndlovu returns to the team, while the uncapped Zander Reinders is in line to make his debut. The inclusion of the duo by coach Philip Snyman is the only changes from the squad that played in the season opener in Dubai last weekend. Ryan Oosthuizen and Christy Grobler picked up injuries which ruled them out of the home leg. Coach Snyman says he's happy to have Ndlovu back.
Over the last couple of years, he struggled with injury, and before the Olympics started training again, and he was on fire, and he made selection always difficult. And sometimes just before team selection, he picked up a small niggle. 4 weeks before Dubai, he picked up a small niggle that kept him out for 2 weeks, which made it difficult to select him for Dubai. But he was always in the plans, and he knew if something happened, he will come into Cape Town, and if not Cape Town, he will get his opportunity in Perth, because that's where we want to go. We want to learn from the Springboks and make sure you don't necessarily use the same place all the time, but you want to build in your depth, you want to build towards a bigger picture, the 2028 Olympics.
So in tomorrow's group stage, the Blitzboks will take on Ireland at 11:45, and then they will face Argentina at 20:7. Only the winners of the four groups will advance to the semi-finals, and then the playoff matches will take place on Sunday. The Sharks, Stormers and Bulls will be in Champions Cup action tomorrow. The Sharks kick off the South African campaign against the Exeter Chiefs at 3, followed by the Stormers versus Toulon at 5:15, and then the Bulls to face Saracens at 7:30. The Cheetahs and Lions will then feature in the European Challenge Cup competition on Sunday. The Cheetahs will take on Perpignan at their home base in Amsterdam in the Netherlands at 3, after which the team from Johannesburg will face Ospreys. Kickoff is at 5:15. Moving on to soccer, Orlando Pirates will face a big challenge this weekend when they host African giants Al Ahly in a CAF Champions League group match tomorrow. Pirates have beaten the Egyptian club 3 times. Kickoff is tomorrow afternoon at 3. And then also don't forget Mamelodi Sundowns can expect a tough clash in Morocco, where they will face FAR Rabat at 9 tomorrow evening. On the Betway Premiership front, there will only be 4 matches this weekend. The highlight is Sunday's match between Polokwane City and Kaizer Chiefs. Both are in the top 8. Kickoff is at 3:30. And then finally, first round leader at the Nedbank Golf Challenge at Sun City, American Max Homer, says he's very pleased with his opening round at Africa's so-called major. The defending champion started round 2 on 6 under 66 this morning, 1 shot ahead of South Africa's Åke Strydom.
I haven't played a tournament in a while. I've been working on a lot of new stuff, so to come out and birdie the first 3 holes was cool, and the way I was doing it was nice. Felt really comfortable with the golf swing for the most part. I mean, just the way I drove the ball all season was terrible, and you come to a golf course like this where you cannot fake it off the tee. You need to hit some good tee shots. You're going to be uncomfortable with the wind. You obviously want to come here and win, but I am trying to get ready for next season and put to use some of this work I've done. So to see something that I can kind of take with me going back home is a big deal. So just that alone, I'm very happy with.
I ask myself, wait, before you sign up, why are you and I not sitting at a pool sipping cocktails watching the golf?
Or the cricket.
Oh, and the cricket.
You can do the golf, I'll do the cricket.
You can have a TV over here, you can have the golf over there, and then I'll watch the Sharks on the TV.
We shall speak to a management soon. But before I go, there was a little interesting development this morning in the golf. So Homer started on -6 and Åke Strydom at -5. Strydom drew level with Homer on the first hole. He got a birdie and Homer parred it, and then now Homer dropped a shot on the par 3 4th. So as I currently have it, after 4 holes, Strydom on 6 under, Max Homer on 5 under par, and that's me.
Go Åke. Put a little bit of money on.
And Tristan.
Thank you very much.
Whatever your need for a personal loan, choose a bank that's best for your loans. Nedbank offers loans of up to 400,000 Rand at the best possible fixed interest rates. And there's more. Open a My Goals Plus or My Goals Premium account, and you could enjoy 200 Rand cash back every month for the duration of your loan term. That's up to 14,400 Rand cash back. Visit nedbank.co.za to apply for your tailored personal loan. See money differently. Nedbank. We are a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Get ready to honor Madiba's legacy together. Join us on 8 December at the Union Buildings in Tshwane, Gauteng, as we pay tribute to Nelson Mandela with the Mandela Remembrance Walk and Run. There's a distance for everyone, 21 kilometers, 10-kilometer run, and a 5-kilometer scenic walk. Enjoy loads of entertainment and plenty of fun for the kids. If you can't be there in person, you can participate from wherever you are, uniting with thousands around the country to honor Nelson Mandela's vision of unity, equality, and a just society. All proceeds will support the Nelson Mandela Foundation. Register now at mandelawalkandrun.com. Let's come together to remember Madiba. In proud partnership with Gauteng Province, the City of Tshwane, and SABC Sport. See you there. Let's make it a day to remember.
Get ready to win big this holiday season with SAFM. Text Christmas to 41391 to stand a chance to win one of 12 amazing mystery prizes. SMS lines open on the 29th of November and close on the 24th of December 2024. Winners will be announced between the 26th and the 31st of December. Each SMS costs R1.50, so hurry up and send your entries now. Terms and conditions apply. Get into the festive spirit and win big with SAFM this Christmas.
Update at noon, midday to 1 p.m.
Big story this afternoon is that Janusz Walusz will be deported to Poland today. Let's get some of your reaction to that.
Good afternoon, John Herricha. You see, South Africa make decisions on emotional lines. You are the same people who say your jails are correctional services. You think somebody in 28 years cannot be corrected. So what is the correctional service for if you can't correct someone in 28 years? Don't be emotional. You should have taken him to death sentence. You didn't. You said he must be corrected. Now he's corrected. You are still emotional and you are deporting him. It doesn't make sense.
Good afternoon, John. It's Mtintebe. So, John, for clarity reason, if South African taxpayers are not the one who's going to pay for the deportation of this criminal called Janusz Walusz, then who's paying for it? Very curious to know who's paying for it. And then what interest do they have in all of this? And I'm like, just curious. But yeah, great cheers always doing the band.
Good afternoon, John. I like what the Justice Department in South Africa did in 1993 by arresting Janusz for that long. I wish we can have that type of justice in South Africa now, which we don't have. Just imagine a guy who's been arrested since 1993. John, I was born in 1992. Now that I'm 32 years, the guy has received justice. I wish they can do the same in South Africa for our criminals, rapists, murderers, run by Protegland. Thank you for the great show, John.
Those are your voice notes. And in response to that second voice note, who's paying for it? We heard Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber earlier saying that Poland will be paying for it as he's being repatriated back to Poland. So the Polish government will be paying for it.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
All right, let's get reaction on this. Let's give some background first of all. Walusz killed Chris Hani in 1993. In November of 22, the Constitutional Court found that then Justice Minister Ronald Lamolla's decision to refuse Walusz parole in 2020 had been irrational and set it aside, paving the way for his release from prison the following month, after 28 years behind bars. Let's get reaction on this with Dr. Alex Mashilo as the SACP Central Committee member, national spokesperson as well. Doctor, thank you very much. What's your reaction to him being deported to Poland?
Hi, John. I wonder if you can hear me.
Yeah, perfectly. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine. No, we met with the government's delegation last night at 8 p.m., led by Deputy President Paul Mashatile, comprising 3 ministers, Home Affairs, Minister in the Presidency, and the Minister of Justice. We expressed our appreciation for the government's effort to reach out to the family and the SACP regarding this matter. However, we also expressed a concern that the Department of Correctional Services had an ample time to notify the Department of Home Affairs for the engagement not to take place on the eve of the release of the convicted assassin. When we met at 8 o'clock p.m. last night, the parole was scheduled to end midnight, which means that it was in about 2 hours' time. We asked that no other South African family, especially the victims of apartheid-era crimes and the victims of other crimes, should be treated in that way. The system must be improved to avoid the concerns that deeply worried us. We are in this situation because of the Constitutional Court judgment of 21 November 2021, in terms of which the Minister of Justice, Ronald Ramola, was instructed to release the convicted assassin on parole within 10 days of that particular judgment. In our view, that judgment ignored a number of circumstances. We filed an application for rescission to the Constitutional Court, and then that application was dismissed. That's why we are where we are at the moment, but we asked the government to implement an inquest into the assassination of Chris Hani, because there is no closure in this case and justice is incomplete. Incomplete justice is not justice.
Dr. Alex Mashilo, do we know if Chris Wallace will be a free man in Poland?
He will definitely be a free man, and to some racist right-wingers, he will definitely also be regarded as a hero. But here, particularly among the historically oppressed and the larger working class movement, he is a convicted assassin who carried out the assassination act seeking to perpetuate the existence of apartheid and its social relations. This must be considered a warning, because Chris Hani will continue to live in our hearts and our programs as the SACP and the working class. There is no way we will rest until there is full disclosure of the truth and until we realize the values that he stood for.
That was going to be my next question. What is the SACP going to do now? Do you just say, well, so be it? Have we lost?
To implement our request for an inquest. It was on the table of Minister Ronald Lamola. We understand now from the press briefing that the government held this morning that the matter will be referred to the new Minister of Justice. There are just so many outstanding pieces of evidence that have not been taken into account in this case. If I may give you an example, I mean, the murder weapon that was used was not bought from a shop. It came from the Apartheid Defense Force armory. And who took it? That person has not been held to account. Whose hands did it go through pair by pair until it was used for the assassination? Not a single person was held to account. There was some piece of evidence that Medi Mpohani shared with the deputy president regarding the crime scene where the assassination took place. The apartheid regime ignored that piece of evidence and rushed the trial so that they could only convict the two and not other people who were possibly involved.
Doc, you said they met with the family. You were with the family as well. What's their reaction to all of this?
It was disappointing. They felt that, you know, the way this thing was handled was just retaining in their lives the trauma that the assassination of Chris Hani brought to the family. Let me give you this. In 2018, we were at the Supreme Court of Appeals in Bloemfontein. While inside the court arguing against parole for the convicted assassin, their legal representative told the judges at the Supreme Court of Appeal that Janus Walu's citizenship of South Africa was revoked. That caught us by surprise, because it came as if it was part of a larger plan, so that when time comes for him to be paroled, as we were fighting against parole, he will be deported to Poland. The circumstances under which his South African citizenship was revoked were not clear, and they still remain unclear to us. The same applies to how he was granted South African citizenship. He came from Poland. If you, we have evidence from the Department of Home Affairs which presented a report to us. There were just so many things that leave much to be desired in the process under which he was granted South African citizenship. And we cannot delink that from the Assassination Act that he carried later on. And all those actions were taking place from within the state. They were conscious processes. They were not happening on autopilot.
Dr. Alex Moshilo, the SACP Central Committee member and national spokesperson. Thanks very much.
After registering wins in their Group C opening matches, the Buccaneers and the Red Devils now meet each other. The South tackles the North. This is the Total Energies CAF Champions League. Witness the incredible flavor of African football. Orlando Pirates versus Al Ahly this Saturday, 7 December at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC3 and SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Also available everywhere for everyone. Always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
My name is Bandi Linyawane. I'm 17 and I'm a professional cricket player. While on tour, I was battling to keep up with school, so my parents moved me to UCT Online High School. It's changed the game for me. With the ability to learn from anywhere, I can get ahead and stay ahead. Sign up at uctonlinehighschool.com. It's not too late. Applications close 6 January 2025.
A festive season to remember will be witnessed at the JB Marks Oval between the Proteas and the English. What a summer without cricket! This is the One-Day International Series, where summer cricket comes alive. Catch the third and final women's ODI clash, South Africa versus England, on Wednesday, 11 December at 13:40. Live at your fingertips on SABC Plus and Radio 2000, with reports on various SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Update at noon, midday to 1 p.m. John Gerika on SAFM.
7 minutes to 1 o'clock here with SAFM. Let's go to Chief Albert Lutuli House in Johannesburg now. ANC Secretary General Thakile Mbalula is briefing the media.
Of South Africans will face the full might of the law. This includes immigrants who engage in criminal activities and South Africans who enable this criminality by illegally registering businesses or aiding criminal behavior, zamazamas, drug peddlers and drug laboratories, and illegal immigrants. Our patience has been overstretched. South Africa's hospitality must never be mistaken for weakness. Our communities cannot live in fear. The law must be enforced. The time is now. As an organization, we continue to make strides in reclaiming the spaza shop sector as part of revitalizing township and rural economies. Many spaza shop owners are registering in line with the President's call, ensuring that South Africans benefit from this important sector of our economy. Women, youth, and people with disabilities. The 500 million allocated to this initiative will impact thousands of lives, creating opportunities, economic growth, and jobs. The time has come to enforce compliance more rigorously. We must not falter in ensuring that the laws of the country are fully implemented. This includes ensuring that no illegal immigrants are allowed to operate tuck shops in our country. Those who are legally in the country, they must prove investment in the business of over 5 million as required by the law. We are pleased that as of last night, 51,788 spaza shops have been registered, with 45% being KwaZulu-Natal. 800 spaza shops have been closed to date, with 93% of these being foreign-owned. We call on the government to employ additional inspectors to monitor the sector and ensure that it serves its intended purpose, empowering South Africans and restoring economic dignity to our communities.
We're
We're delving deeper into the world of mining and engineering. From the coalface with Martin Creamer.
I was Fikile Mbalula. Let's go to Martin Kramer now, publishing editor of Engineering News and Mining Weekly. Good afternoon to you, Martin. Good chatting again. Going green are the mining companies. Tell us about it.
Yeah, mining companies in particular are generating their own power. And we saw it again this week with Harmony Gold going for another 100 megawatts, this time near Orkney in Northwest. They've already got 30 megawatts in the Free State. And every mining company you speak to is doing it or will do it. And that is because it's so much cheaper. Not only do they get the greenness, but they get the value. The Eskom price lift was so extreme, more than 500% over 10 years. So as you come in, you either do it yourself, which is embedded behind the meter, and then you are off the grid, or you get involved with wheeling, dealing with independent power producers. But whatever way, mines have really contributed massively to the amount of energy that's being produced, and also at a lower cost.
Talk about global investment. I see you saying that South Africa is back on that investment radar. I saw a report earlier about how much load shedding hurt possible investments. Are things being turned around?
Load shedding is one of the things that's encouraging people to invest again. And we had Exoro now reporting, that's a company listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, saying how much better, the sentiment is to actually invest. We also had South Palladium, which is listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange and also in Sydney, saying, we just are seeing it definitely. You're on the investment radar screen again. They had been in New York, they'd been in Toronto, they'd been listening to investors, and the sentiment is greater. And one of the things is that we've had so many days without load shedding, but also they see more port stabilization and Transnet stabilizing a bit better. Not perfect, but starting to stabilize. And that gives a lot of encouragement to investors. And we're seeing that South Palladium, came in with money, drilled, found fantastic results, and so they're very happy.
And Martin, one of the things you're passionate about, it seems, is hydrogen. Things are looking good.
Oh, look, hydrogen and fuel cells, it's just so good for South Africa. Every day, there are new investments. And we're always thinking about mobility. We're thinking about the hydrogen fuel cells in the cars. And we know that BMW just announced two things this week. We saw Toyota with Hilux in the UK coming in with 10 new hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. It just happens like by the minute these things are happening. But what we don't normally see is what we know as a power station. So if you go along to Mpumalanga and you see one of those power stations, that's not mobility. The only mobility out of that is the electricity that flows out of it. And what's happening is that you see now in South Korea, it's going to be a massive situation where they've got a big power station. And this is going to be a hydrogen fuel cell power station. And we clap at both ends to create the hydrogen. They use our platinum group metals, and then to turn that hydrogen into electricity. And isn't that magic? They use fuel cells, and again, those magical moments are created by our South African platinum and palladium.
Yeah, let's hold on. So do we buy platinum now or do we wait? Martin Creamer, thank you very much. You'll be back on the coalface again, same time next Friday. That's the end of the program. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for your feedback as well. It's always a pleasure to have you. Unfortunately, we didn't get to that Ghana elections. They will be having their ballots tomorrow, so that's something we'll keep an eye on through the weekend. Also into next week as well, as we see who is elected president. They're electing a new president in Ghana as well. A number of parties stood, a number of independents entered into the elections, but then the election commission getting rid of most of them because they didn't follow through with the correct processes. So that would have been an interesting discussion to have as well. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm John Gericke Sekina, back again on Monday. It's 1 o'clock.
Thank you, John. And the team top stories at 1. Chris Hani's killer to be deported to Poland, and MK Party's Canon Mdletshe dies in a car crash. For SAFM News, I am Ondalambana, and a very good day. Minister in the Presidency, Kumbuzo Ntabeni, has announced that former SACP leader Chris Hani's killer, Janusz Walus, will be deported to Poland. In November 2022, the Constitutional Court found that then Justice Minister Ronald Lamula's decision to refuse to grant Walus parole in 2020 had been irrational. The court then set the decision aside, paving the way for the release of Walush from prison the following month after 28 years behind bars. South African citizenship of Polish Bond Walush was revoked in 2017, but he was granted residence after his release to enable him to serve his 2-year parole period in South Africa. Chabini addressed the media in Pretoria.
Today, the 6th of December 2024, the parole period of Janus Walush has come to an end in line with the Constitutional Court decision. Since Janus Walush no longer holds any South African enabling documents, the Department of Home Affairs will be deporting him. This morning, the National Commissioner of Correctional Services will formally hand over Janus Walush to the Department of Home Affairs for deportation.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has signed the Deeds Registries Amendment Bill into law. The legislation seeks to enhance deeds registration processes to create ease and uniformity. The presidency says the legislation also facilitates the modernization of the deeds system. The law has a penalty provision in respect of the unauthorized preparation and execution of deeds. President spokesperson Vincent Magwenya.
The new law, which amends the Deeds Registries Act of 1937, seeks to address challenges experienced by the deeds registries and conveyancers in respect of registration processes and procedures. As part of building the capability of the state, the law now provides for the appointment of a registrar, deputy registrar, and assistant registrar of deeds in terms of the Public Service Act and regulates the qualification requirements of these positions.
Political parties in the Hang Tabazimbi local municipality in Limpopo have started talks on the formation of a coalition government. 7 political parties got a share of the council's 23 seats in Wednesday's by-election. The by-election is a third electoral process to produce a Hang council since the 2016 local amendment election. ANC Provincial Secretary Ruben Madadze says they are seeking a mandate from the party's national leadership to finalize the coalition.